When salvage diver George Conrad and his partner Bill Kirkpatrick found a wreck 12 miles off Cape Bowling Green in Queensland, Australia, in the middle of the Coral Sea, they were about to solve a 47-year-old mystery. At the time, in 1958, Conrad, who was the first to dive the ship, identified it as the Yongala because of the lettering of the name on the bow. However, upon returning to Cairns, they could not substantiate the identity. Conrad and Kirkpatrick continued to dive the wreck with members of the Queensland Underwater Research Group, although positive identification remained elusive, because they were not able to find the name on the bow again. They raised several artifacts. One of these was a safe found in the purser's cabin. They had hoped that the safe would contain identification, but when it was opened in the presence of customs officials, it contained nothing. However, the opening of the safe was featured in an article in the Townsville newspaper on October 7, 1958. The manager of a Cub Safes in Queensland saw the photo in the paper and believed it to be a Cub safe by the way the door was hung on the left. He sent details of a partial serial number found on the door tongue to England for identification. The serial number eventually confirmed that it was a Cub safe that had been supplied to the Armstrong, Whitworth and Company for Yongala. The Yongala is an exceptional wreck. It is the largest, most intact historic shipwreck known in Australian waters. It has not been salvaged and retains most of its integrity, although damage to the wreck from anchors deployed by visiting dive vessels and known pilfering by generations of wreck ratters has resulted in loss of some integrity. The wreck has become an established artificial reef, providing a unique habitat for a diverse range of marine life in an open seafloor. Permanent buoys have been installed around the wreck and boats are prohibited from anchoring. Also, no collecting is allowed and no penetration of the wreck is permitted. Diving on the Yongala is somewhat akin to diving every other famous reef in the world on one dive. The site is teeming with animal life. Soft corals and anemones completely cover every square inch of the wreck, and the myriad of fish life that they support has been described as mind-boggling. The wreck is home to schools of rays, sharks are frequent visitors to the site, and the seafloor is literally crawling with sea snakes. In some surveys, it ranks as the #1 dive site in the world. Yongala was built to special survey by Armstrong, Whitworth and Company in Newcastle-on-Tyne from specifications supplied by the Adelaide Steamship Company. The ship was launched on April 29, 1903, and left Southampton on October 9, carrying passengers for Australia. It arrived in Sydney on December 6, 1903. Its original run was between Sydney and Fremantle. During that time, it completed 29 trips. In January of 1906, the Adelaide Steamship Company transferred the Yongala to the Brisbane-Fremantle run. The drop in gold production and subsequent drop in passenger numbers made the Adelaide-Fremantle trip too expensive. So on January 1906, Yongala made its first visit to Brisbane. Yongala was the first vessel to complete a direct trip of 5,000 kilometers between Fremantle and Brisbane, the longest interstate trip at the time. In June of 1907, it raced Howard Smith's Bombla from Sydney to Brisbane, beating the rival by 17 minutes over a period of 29 hours. The vessel was propelled by a large triple expansion engine driving a single propeller. The engine was built by the Watson Shipping and Engineering Company and couldn't attain an official speed of 15.8 knots, although in the 99 trips it undertook, it often reached 17 knots. 5 single-ended steel boilers working under natural draughts supplied steam of 180 pounds pressure. At 15 knots, the engine burned 67 tons of coal a day. A powerful direct-acting steam windlass and capstan were fitted on the forecast head, and 7 winches with suitable derricks and derrick posts and 2 steam cranes were provided for efficient cargo handling. Electric lighting was fitted throughout with a duplicate generating plant. A specially arranged steam and hand steering gear was fitted in a house at the after end of the poop and controlled from the bridge. Located amidship was a long citadel house and an island deck at the foremast. First-class passenger accommodations for 110 people were located in the citadel house, and up to 126 second-class passengers could be accommodated in the poop. Around the citadel house was a promenade deck extending out to the sides of the vessel, and above this a boat deck. The chart room, captain's cabin, and wheelhouse were on the boat deck. The drawing room was in front of the boiler casing, and a smoking room and staterooms behind it on the promenade deck. The drawing room opened into a lobby that formed the companionway to the salon and the first-class staterooms. The main stairway to the upper deck also gave access to the salon entrance. All of the fittings were the most up-to-date of the Edwardian era. The master was Captain William Knight, age 62, one of the company's most capable men who had worked for the steamship company for 14 years without mishap. Having completed the loading of passengers and a large general cargo, including a horse known as Moonshine who was destined for Townsville, and a red Lincoln bull bound for Cairns, Yongala finally left the wharf. It had been inspected and found to be in excellent trim. Although Yongala had been delayed in its departure from Brisbane, it was in no hurry to reach Mackay. Captain Garrett Smith of the Kuma overtook Yongala the following day and later commented that the Yongala had been steaming easily, as if it was not necessary to arrive at Mackay until the following day. On the morning of March 23, Yongala steamed into Mackay and dropped off and received passengers. The discharging of 50 tons of cargo left 617 tons in the lower hold, properly stowed. By 1:40 in the afternoon, it had departed, carrying 32 first-class passengers, 17 second-class passengers, many from Townsville and the surrounding region, and Cairns, and 75 crew, making a total of 124 people. Yongala was still in sight of land when the signal station at Flat Top in Mackay received a telegram warning of a cyclone in the area between Townsville and Mackay. Although the first Australian shore wireless station capable of maintaining communication with ships had been established in Sydney in 1910, few ships carried wireless in 1911. Meanwhile, the Kuma had lost time during the previous night and arrived late in Mackay. Having been signaled from Flat Top about the approaching cyclone, the vessel was able to find shelter until the following day. Further north, the wind was swinging from the southeast to the northwest and was coming from the northeast when it would have hit Yongala, traveling at right angles to the full force. It is possible that the entire diameter of the storm did not exceed 30 miles, although it left a trail of devastation in Cape Upstart. The late arrival of Yongala in Townsville caused little immediate concern, although when 3 other ships that had been sheltering from the storm finally arrived, among them the Kuma, the alarm was raised. Yongala was posted as missing on March 26th. It was thought to have been lost on or about March 23rd. Many theories were put forward regarding the possible location and reason for loss of Yongala. Some speculated that it had been rendered helpless due to some unknown mishap between Whitsunday Passage and Cape Bowling Green, or had been overpowered by the extreme force of the cyclone. Others thought it had hit a submerged reef between Flinders Passage and Keeper Reef, or run into Nari's Rock, or even struck Cape Upstart. When Conrad first reported the wreck, he said he had seen another ship in the sand nearby. This was never confirmed. Subsequent dives on the wreckage determined that all the portholes were open, the lifeboats were intact, and the anchors were stowed. On June 20, 1911, the Marine Board of Queensland met in Brisbane to finalize the inquiry into the loss of Yongala. It was agreed that the task of determining the cause of the tragedy through eyewitness evidence was not possible, and so the board found the ability of the captain to be beyond doubt and impeccable, and with no desire to indulge in idle speculation, simply found that after becoming lost to view by the lightkeeper at Death Island, the fate of Yongala passed beyond human knowledge into the realms and conjectures of the mysteries of the sea.